times.
Son, can you be in the PNM party? Jumbai, peace, Akia, faith, God bless.
This is Caribbean Vibes.
Daddy, could you tell me what's the qualification that I must have to be a politician? When I grow up, I want to become a famous man like George Bush, Pandy Robinson, and Reagan. I know to be a doctor, you need a degree. I know a simple soldier must be tall with a strong body. To become a scientist, you need maths for this. But what must I study, Daddy, to do politics? Son, can you be in the PNM party and your heart in the UNC? Can you be Robinson Street party whip and fighting for our leadership? You must swear on Bible and take false oath. You must use big words to get votes. You must lie and watch me straight in the eye. Oh, son, that's the qualification of a politician. You must shun people when election done. Well, son, that's the qualification of a politician. Daddy, could you tell me if to be a politician, a man must have a sound education done on the USA? For me to be a man in war can be. I know musicians study music at Berkeley. I know good doctors does be at Harvard University. Well, which school did John Humphrey and Sudama study? I hear they did a crash course here at the school of Woodford Square. Son, you must go to the school of selfishness and learn how to be dishonest. You must go to the school of scampishness and like Judas, learn to cheat with a kiss. You must part with your good friend Kelvin Ramnat and call him a bloody upstart. You must fool people and fool yourself in the long run. Oh son, that's the qualification of a politician. You must hate roti and yet hug up the roti man. Well son, that's the qualification of a politician. A lie.
This is Caribbean Vibes.
Keep the faith up here. Rumba. Son, a politician is a special breed of man with a special personality. He will promise you paradise and the promised land, and after elections he knows nobody. He'll give his party members car, house, jobs and big road. Although they have no papers, he puts square pegs in a wrong hole. He's one who shows no pity for vagrants and for humans. If you could behave like that to be one, son, you must watch the crime rate escalating, and yet talk about race and vote catching. You must see two people on one hospital bed, then pass through the ward and just nod your head. You must talk the Queen's English in Parliament and curse obscene as you reach the pavement. You must if you touch a leaf. Oh son, that's the qualification of a politician. You must smile and drink whiskey with your enemy. Well son, that's the qualification of a politician. Boomba, yeah, boomba. I know to be a doctor, you need a degree. I know a simple soldier must be tall with a strong body. To become a scientist, you need maths for this. But what must I study, Daddy, to get into politics? Son, can you be in the PNM party and your heart in the UNC? Can you be Robinson Street party whip and fight him for our leadership? You must swear on Bible and take false oath. You must use big words to get votes. You must lie and watch me straight in the eye. Oh son, that's the qualification of a politician. You must shun people when election done. Well son, that's the qualification of a politician. Daddy, could you tell me if to be a politician, a man must have a sound education? Should I go away to London or the USA for me to be a man in war and bay? I know musicians study music at Berkeley. I know good doctors study at Harvard University. Well, which school did John Humphrey and Sudama study? I hear they did a crash course here at the school of Woodford Square. Son, you must go to the school of selfishness and learn how to be dishonest. You must go to the school of scampishness and like Judas, learn to cheat with a kiss. You must part with your good friend Kelvin Ramnat and call him a bloody upstart. You must fool people and fool yourself in the long run. Oh son, that's the qualification of a politician. You must hate roti and yet hug up the roti man. Oh son, that's the qualification of a politician. A lie.
This is Caribbean Vibes.
Keep the faith up here. Rumba. Politician is a special breed of man with a special personality. He will promise you paradise and the promised land, and after elections he knows nobody. He'll give his party members car, house, jobs and big road. Although they have no papers, he'll put square pegs in a wrong hole. He's one who shows no pity for vagrants and for humans. If you could behave like that, my son, you on your way to be one. Son, you must watch the crime rate escalating, and yet talk about race and vote catching. You must see two people on one hospital bed, then pass through the ward and just nod your head. You must talk the Queen's English in Parliament and curse obscene as you reach the pavement. You must tease and jail a man if he touch a leaf. Oh son, that's the qualification of a politician. You must smile and drink whiskey with your enemy. Well son, that's the qualification of a politician. Boomba, yeah, the face up here. Boomba. Son, a politician is a special breed of man with a special personality. He will promise you paradise and the promised land, and after elections he knows nobody. He'll give his party members car, house, jobs and big road. Although they have no papers, he'll put square pegs in a wrong hole. He's one who shows no pity for vagrants and for humans. If you could behave like that, my son, you on your way to be one. Son, you must watch the crime rate escalating, and yet talk about race and vote catching. You must see two people on one hospital bed, then pass through the ward and just nod your head. You must talk the Queen's English in Parliament and curse obscene as you reach the pavement. You must tease and jail a man if he touch a leaf. Oh son, that's the qualification of a politician. You must smile and drink whiskey with your enemy. Well son, that's the qualification of a politician. Boomba, yeah, love. Boomba, boomba. Yeah, man, yeah. My granddaughter Kai.
This is Caribbean Vibe.
Oh, a very good evening to you. Welcome to Politics 101. It's a Thursday evening, and wherever you're joining us from, we are extremely grateful to you. The qualifications of a politician. The mighty chalk dust, Dr. Hollis Liverpool, an old time classic. The qualifications of a politician. And you all heard it there for yourselves, and that's why Kaiso shall never die. Only in Calypso you can get that kind of lyrics. The qualifications of a politician. You you must tell people one thing before the election, and as soon as the election finish, you tell them something else. You must go to the school of selfishness and scampishness. You must be in one party and you're mine in another party. Oh, Lord. Good evening. Good evening again, and welcome to Politics 101. Tonight we are going to be examining a few things. Please share the link. I notice quite a few of you are here. Please share the link and let everyone know that we are on the Politics 101 and we're going to be rolling tonight. Um, the qualifications of a politician. It really tickled me. It really tickled me. The qualifications of a politician. Oh Lord. Hey.
And learn how to be dishonest. You must go to the school of scampishness. And like Judas, learn to cheat with a kiss. You must part with your good friend Kelvin Ramnat and call him a bloody upstart. You must fool people and fool yourself in the long run. Oh, son, that's the qualification of a politician. Can you be Robinson Street party whip and fight him for now leadership? You must swear on Bible and take false oath. You must use big words to get votes. You must lie and watch me straight in the eye. Oh, son, that's the qualification of a politician. You must shun people when election done. Well, son, that's the qualification of a politician.
Oi! Oh, oh, Guyana, Guyana, Guyana. Good evening. Well, all of you would know by now that over the weekend, Minister Vikram Bharat gave an interview in which he was very clear that the cash grant is, and he called it cash transfers. Cash transfer is a failed model, that it would lead to poverty, it would lead people to stop working, and it will lead people to stop going to school. He's very clear. He didn't talk with what anymore. He said it's failed. He said he doesn't know of anywhere in the world that's cash grant. Everybody heard him. Yesterday at our press conference, we took him on. I noticed some of the news media have carried that story, and others have come out and condemn them. Today, Vice President Jack Dew gave a press conference, and he was asked 3 times by 3 different journalists He was asked by Demerara Waves, he was asked by Stabrook News, and he was asked by Starting Point. That's a new online media. And he was asked, and my goodness, I was tempted tonight to play Nelson's You Hear Lie, but I said no, let's play Chalk Dust. Jack Dio, Gorong, Comorong, Gorong, Comorong. Up to now, he hadn't answered the question. The Stabrook News journalist press him, are you going to give cash grant before Christmas as you promised? As the president said he was mulling, and Jack Doe said, yes, the president is mulling. Did you make a decision on the cash grant? The president is mulling. We have a 5-year term. Whatever the president said he will do, he will do. Well, the president, Jack Doe said he was mulling, meaning Jack Doe said the man didn't say giving a cash grant. You give a long story about cash grant is not a model. That a developed model includes cash grant, but cash grant is not a model. So when Barrett said cash grant is a failed model, according to Jack Dio, then Barrett is talking nonsense. But he could not say, well, look, the minister was wrong to suggest that we have abandoned cash grants. Never said that. He said the media and other people like David Hines are saying what the minister said. The minister said very clearly that cash grant is a failed model. He used the word model. I suppose he's talking about a model of development, and Jack, you're trying to carry wrong. Well, cash grant is not a model. Whatever you say cash grant is, your minister, who's responsible for oil and gas, whether he's a junior or senior minister, said so. Did you all in the PPP arrive at that conclusion? That this thing is a fail, whether you call it a failed model or failed policy, whatever it is. Did the PPP arrive at that decision? We have to give you some history. In August of 2018, Professor Clive Thomas was invited by us in Buxton, the 1st of August movement, to address the annual AUC Kwayana Emancipation Symposium. And Professor Clive Thomas introduced cash grants, cash transfers, as he called it, and as we prefer to call it, cash transfers as a means of alleviating poverty. And he said, you know, and this is before gas, oil and gas. This is before we start pumping gas, 2018. Nigel Hughes was on the platform and a representative of the then Ministry of Natural Resources, headed by Raphael Trotman. Trotman said he was not available. He sent a young lady from the ministry. And Thomas introduced this subject. He argued that it is one of the most potent means of alleviating poverty. Almost immediately, all the political leaders said it was unworkable. The same thing Minister Barrett said on that interview. They all, from the president right down, I think the president might have said that he had never heard of the policy and he needed to know more. The PPP said it can't work. Jack Dio said plainly, it cannot work. It will lead people to, as Barrett said, Vikram Barrett, that it would lead people to stop working. They all said so. They all. Professor Thomas brought it to the WPA, and we were the only political party that embraced the policy. Now, as the years rolled on, most of them who rejected the policy came around. Those in the APNU government, we pressed them to make the policy a campaign issue in 2020. They did not, but privately, they embraced the policy. I think it may have slipped in the manifesto. When the PPP came to power, over time, the PPP themselves, they changed their mind. And they began to talk about cash grants. And we all know they gave one of these things earlier this year, or late last year, whenever it was, of $100,000. They first introduced it as $100,000 per household, and then they changed it to $100,000 per person. But they gave the cash grant. On the campaign trail, they urged people to vote for them because, among other things, they give cash grants and that they will be giving more cash grants, and you will get one more cash grant by Christmas. They campaigned on it. The APNU campaigned on it. When, of course, I think in their manifesto, they've put it somewhere there. Well, Win didn't have any policy in their campaign, so it was neither here nor there. But the APNU and the PPP, they campaigned heavily on cash transfers. Heavily on cash transfers. And so it was shocking after the election, a mere few weeks, 3 or 4 weeks after the election, to hear this minister come out and say this is a failed model. The conclusion has to be made that the PPP campaigned on what it knows is a failed policy or failed model, whatever you choose to call it. The minister is saying that the PPP campaigned on a failed model, that we knew that this thing wouldn't work, and we fooled the nation. We campaigned because in a campaign you're trying to get votes. We got your votes under what old people say false pretense or false whatever. We lied to the nation. We never believed in this thing. That when we gave the 100,000, it had nothing to do with what Jack Joy is now saying, development. It had to do with something else. Because you give this thing, Jack Joy is saying, but this is not a model. It's part of a development. And now you're saying this policy, but it's not a model, is a policy or a part of the model. So, minister is saying that this part of the development model is flawed. It will lead to people stop going to school and people stop working. Or the minister might be saying that we lied to you, or we changed our mind. In that case, the minister is saying, we don't have respect for you. We know we could come to you, tell you, vote for me, we're going to give you this thing. We're going to give you plenty more. And now the election, we come to you and say the thing is a failed model or a failed policy. One would be tempted to ask Minister Barrett and Vice President, show us one place in the world which this thing failed. But poor Vikram Barrett, he said he knows of no country in the world where this thing is given, this cash transfer. Either he doesn't know anything about cash transfer, which I suspect is the case, or he knows and he's lying. He pinpointed the United States. And I have to be very careful tonight because one, Neville Bishemba, in a letter in today's Stabrook News, sought to imply that I'm not a scholar. I have to be careful. But I will deal with Bishemba another time, not tonight. Bishemba, but not Bishemba. Let me explain. America has a federal system. And a federal system means that the people of that country are living under more than one government at a time. In the United States, you have the federal government, then you have below that state government, then you have below that county government, then you have below that municipal government, then you have below that other forms of government such as neighborhood associations. So if you're in the United States, you're living right now under at least 4 governments: federal government, state government, county government, and municipal government. It means you're living under 4 constitutions or 4 sets of laws. As you all know, those of you who live in the United States, you have federal troops, you have state troopers, you have municipal police, you have county police. And you could be arrested by any one of those levels of law enforcement at any given time. So why am I saying that? If you say the United States does not give cash transfer, you are implying that cash transfer does not exist in the United States at all. Well, of course, cash transfer does not exist at the federal government. The federal government does not give cash transfer. But you have cash transfers at state government, especially those states which have oil. And Alaska comes to mind, as a lot of people have been pointing out. Alaska, every year, the people from Alaska get a check. And it can range from $1,000 to $5,000 US dollars a year, depending on how much oil revenue comes in. So what Barrett is talking is, I rather suspect he wasn't lying when he said he doesn't know the United States gives it. He just doesn't know. He's an ignoramus on this matter. He doesn't know. Jack Dio knows. Jack Dio knows. And there are several countries in the world, Brazil, a lot of the countries in Latin America, even in our Caribbean, Jamaica. The World Bank did a big study to see whether it can be implemented in the Eastern Caribbean. It's the most popular poverty alleviation policy. Yet the man sat there and said it doesn't work on the world. That is his ignorance. And one, I can't make excuse for his ignorance, and I don't think I should be talking about it. Clearly, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But Jack Dio knows. And Jack Dio did not come out and say, my minister was wrong, he misspoke. So we have to think that the minister was adumbrating a policy that they have decided on in the PPP. Jack Dio says it was never decided on in the PPP. Then logically you must go on to say, so when the minister spoke, he was speaking in his private capacity, or he misunderstood what we agreed on. That is what Jack Dio should have said. He didn't say that. So logically, we have to conclude that Jack Dio is lying. That indeed, this is a decision that they have made internally. Or people say, mouth open, story jump out. Jack Dio did not say my minister, our minister misspoke, or he spoke in his private capacity, or he misunderstood what we decided on. And so, despite what Jack Dio said today, it is clear that the PPP has made a decision as it relates to cash grants. And we think that is the most brazen, the most dishonest act by any government in Guyana since independence. You campaign on this thing. First of all, you stole it because at first you said you didn't believe in it. Then later on, you take it and you run with it. You made it a centerpiece of your election campaign. And a mere weeks after, you said this thing is flawed. It can't work. It's going to make people don't go to school. It's going to make people don't work. Now, the whole business of what people will do if you give them $100,000 or $1 million, the assumptions you are making about what people will do. It's disturbing when they first uttered it, and it's even more disturbing today. You're essentializing Guyanese. You are saying that these people are so flawed, either genetically or via socialization, that if you give them a couple $100,000, and he quoted 500,000, that they will stop working and they will stop going to school. No, that has never happened in any part of the world. But you have this view of your own people. Your own people. You don't understand why they give old age pension, but they keep it down to $40,000. Because they feel if they give old people $100,000 old age pension, they're going to go smoke it out and dope. Maybe that's what they feel. Because they can't tell old people, well, you're going to work or you're going to educate yourself. You now understand the thinking behind low wages for public sector workers. If you give them more money, if you give public servants and teachers and police and them more money, they're going to left the work. They ain't going to go to university anymore. You now understand what I usually tell you all about on this program, worldview. You give $100,000, but in your mind, you think that if you give them a little bit more before Christmas, they're going to stop working and they won't go to school. It is, as the WPA said, the unkindest cut. If nothing else disqualifies the PPP from governing this country, that should disqualify them. Because that's how they feel about their own people. They could not be talking about the elites. And let me say what I mean by elite, because that one Neville Bishembo, who I'm going to lay into in the next couple of days, and there's a reason why I will lay into him, because he has passed people like me, and I know the origins of that I pass. These are people who have a low estimate of their own people. A low estimate of their own people. They could not be talking about elites. And what I mean by elites, elites mean, Bishembo, people who have a disproportionate amount of common good. People who could play cricket, they have that skill more than the average citizen. They go on to play for Guyana and the West Indies and so on. They are what we call sporting elites. They have a skill in a disproportionate way. They are economic elites, people who got more money. The 1% of the population that are worth billions. They have a disproportionate amount of a common good. They are the economic elites. There are about 5 of us of the world population who managed to go on and get a tertiary education and go and become PhDs. Only 5% of the world population. We have disproportionately more of education, not knowledge, not intellect, but education than the rest of the people in the society. Our world would be a good place if 90% of our people could get PhDs. That is simply not the truth. And so elites, when we talk about elite, we are talking about that small group of people who have a disproportionate portion of a common good. Neville Bishop, I'm teaching you. You're a professor, you're teaching at UG, but clearly you don't understand the meaning of elite. And I'm going to lay into you in the coming days. Those are your friends, them, I hope they tell you. Because you might pass me, and you might pass black people, and you might pass country people. But anyhow, tonight is not you night. But I want your friends them tell you this is one African who not afraid of any of you all. And you all poke your hand in my eye, and I'm going to poke my hand back in your eye. But tonight is not you night. I deal with Jack Dio tonight. So, sisters and brothers, this is where we have it. Jack Dio could not be being dishonest to the elites. He know the media people, the media elites. He know they know what they're doing. The economic elites, the educational elites, the political elites. They're really taking advantage of poor people. That they feel that they can tell poor people before the election, Chris Grant is the greatest thing in the world. And after the election, tell them it's the worst thing in the world and that they can get away with it. Because in 5 years, these people going to go back and vote for them. That is what they know. They ain't fooling people like me. They ain't fooling people like most of you all. But they are talking about poor people of all ethnic groups, of all political persuasions, that they feel they can fool people and get away with it. 3 of the reporters press him on that. He danced wrong, never answered the question. These people are dishonest. And I am making allowances for people to bend the truth, especially in politics. But that kind of thing, how can you tell people this thing is the best thing and you're going to give them more of it? And then the election come and gone, you get back into power and you turn and tell them it's the worst thing in the world. And when confronted, you say, that's not what the minister said. We shall be digging into this more. Jadio said, this one will tickle you. He said the two young people who interviewed me on that interview that went viral were leading me on to spout racism. You all hear that? Most of you all felt that the young people interviewing me were trying to see if they can get through by making rings around me. Anybody who look at that interview would come away with the conclusion that the young people were trying to see if they could trap me like before. Jack Dio, because there was nothing in the interview that he could call racist. Maybe he took schooling from the interview, and I explained to him what is a race or who is a racist. He's a scamper, you know. You hear he said, all they're spouting is racism. If you carry it to court, you're going to say, I never called David Hines a racist. I will say that what he talks is racism. So I think he accepts my definition of racism or racist or who is a racist. So there was nothing in there that is racist. So he's turned the thing around. He said the two picnic, the two children, the two young people were egging on David Hines to spout racism. Jesus Christ. This country, Guyana, and these people, they could not find anything in the interview that they can call racism, or they can prove to them that I am a racist. So he said, well, he's implying, well, David Hines and spout any racism, but the young people were pushing him to do that. You recognize when the young people were asking me, well, is the PPP racist? And I said, but an organization can be racist. An organization is made up of members and supporters, a party. And if you say a party is racist, then you're saying every single member of the party is racist. The young people are egging me on. They were asking legitimate questions. And I was teaching the country. So Jack Dio wanted me to say the PPP is racist. Me, I go to school for foolish stupidness. An organization cannot be racist. Because to say an organization is racist is to say that all those in the organization are racist. And I would never speak such ignorance. The PPP embraces and adumbrates racist policies or policies that lead to racist outcomes. I would not be so unkind to the PPP to spout ignorance, because I know an organization is not racist. You hear Jack Dio and them say that the PNC is a racist party. What ignorance! You write that in a paper or someone saying you fail in any class on race. So because the young people were asking me these questions, he said, well, the young people egged me on because he didn't get the answers that they were looking for. Even I said, I don't know that he's a racist. A lot of PPP people tell me Jack Dio don't have a racist bone in him. And I can't know. They probably know that he don't have a racist. I don't know. And I'm not going to call somebody a racist if I don't know that they're a racist. I can't get into Jack Dio's head. What I do know is that he is the leader of a party that over the years have either adumbrated policies or adumbrated policies, advanced policies that are racist in intent or even if they're not racist in intent, they lead to racism. So because he didn't hear me say Indian people and black people are social enemies, I said they're not social enemies. They're political enemies. They're not historical enemies. They never enslave one another. White people and black people are historical enemies because one enslaves the other. Indian people never enslave black people never enslave Indian people. So we are not historical enemies. We are not social enemies. We gotta live together. We gotta buy from one another. We date one another. So we're not social enemies. We are, however, political enemies because we live under a system that answers the question, who governs? That asks the question, who governs? And answers it by saying, one party will govern after an election. And so each ethnic group vote for one party or the other. And in this recent election, we see that Africans split up their votes among several parties. And so they answer that question in a logical way by voting for what they perceive to be a party that will look after their ethnic interests. And so the contestation for politics lead African people and Indian people in particular, and more Amerindians are getting into the mix, to behave as political enemies. But they're not social enemies. We are not social enemies. We have stereotypes of each other. That's another matter. Africans have stereotype of Indians. Indians have stereotype of Indians. All of we got stereotypes. All the ethnic groups have stereotype of Amerindians. And I'm sure Amerindians got stereotypes about we too. All over the world, different ethnic groups have stereotypes of each other. And so that's not the crime. The crime is that we have a system of governance that encourages our people to become political enemies. Because one has to be the winner and one has to be the loser. And that is why people like myself have argued we should have a winner does not take all system, not a winner take all system. That at the end of an election, all ethnic groups must win, meaning all ethnic groups must be represented in the halls of government, not one party representing overwhelmingly of another party. So Jack Doe is unfair to those young people. Those young people, according to most people, sung more as though they were anti-David Hines, not leading David Hines. I don't think they were. I think they wanted to trap me. And as the interview went on, it became obvious that that was not going to happen. And I think the young people realized here's an opportunity for us to teach a government. I understand over 18,000 people, including Jack Doe. He said the interview was a vile interview because the young people are leading me up. That's the term, leading me up. So the interview was vile. Once he didn't say David Hines spoke racism, and so it was vile. Young people leading David. I have to protect those young people and push back. They're young journalists, and they must be able to ask questions. It's up to you to answer the questions. And for the first time, I think, in one place, I got an opportunity to explain a number of concepts. And the young people, in what was originally supposed to be a 40 minutes interview ended up to be an 80 minutes interview. But we don't live in a country in which Jack Doe would say, well, I congratulate David Hines for giving a good account of himself in that interview. He didn't engage in racism and so on. He can't bring himself to say that. So he blaming the young people. You all were trying to lead the hand. And that's dishonest on his part. Dishonest. He started his thing by saying that, because I think something I criticized them on. The matter of parliament. The fact that they're not calling parliament. And he said that David Hines criticized you for that. And David Hines believes that Indian people are a waste of time. I want you all listen to this. David Hines believes Indian people are a waste of time. Terence Campbell believes that Indian people are genetically liars. Amanza believes that Indian people are mentally lazy. Now, if you drop from the sky, you come from another planet, another country, and you're a man says something like that, you're tempted to believe him. Why is he saying that David Hines believed that Indian people are a waste of time? Because Jack Dio and I agreed that in an election in a country like this, you must first protect your base. I advance it, Jack Dio advance it. But Jack Dio is saying, by me saying that you must protect the APN, you must protect this base, he's interpreting that to mean that APNU must not go after Indian votes. And if they don't go after Indian votes, the conclusion is that Indian people are useless. You see the warped logic? I never say Indian people are useless. I agree with he. But he interprets my saying that APNU must first secure its base to mean that Indian people are useless. And he said the PPP secured its base first. So, according to his own logic, then black people are useless. According to his own logic. But he either don't think with both sides of his brain. The dialecticians would say, you have to argue dialectically. He clearly either don't think with both sides of his brain, or he does, but he's totally dishonest. In 1 minute, the man says, I do something, and he draws a conclusion based on what I said. And he said the very same thing, but he doesn't draw the same conclusion. Terence Campbell, according to him, said that Indian people are genetic liars. Terence Campbell called he a liar. But in calling Jack Dio a liar, according to Jack Dio, it's Indian people you call him liar. And the next minute, the man went on to say that people like Amanza and Terence Campbell and David Hines are mediocres. So should we not use his logic to conclude that Terence Campbell, a black man, Amanza, a black woman, David Hines, a black man, should we not conclude that he feels that black people are mediocre? He just accusing Terence Campbell, who called one man a genetic liar. He jacked you. He stretches that to say Terence is saying that Indian people are liars, genetic liars. So he is the sum total of Indian people. And then went on the next minute to say Campbell, Amanza Walton, and David Hines are mediocre. Is mediocre people going to parliament? Should we not conclude that he feels that black people are mediocre? I leave that for you all. You see, Jack Dio walks into these traps all the time. Yeah, he's not a good analytical, critical analyst. I'm sure Jack Joe is very bright. When it comes to things like numbers and economics, he's good at those things. But he's not good at critical thinking. Meaning that when you say something, on the one hand, he's not good at on the other hand. He's only good on the one hand. So Terence Campbell calls him a genetic liar. He then concludes Terence Campbell means Indians are genetic liar because Jack-Joe is an Indian. And attacking Creolese there. So you all going to say me talk wrong English. Jack-Joe is an Indian. He says that I'm a genetic liar, so all Indians are genetic liar. And then the next minute went on to say 3 black people are mediocres, but doesn't realize his own logic should lead to the conclusion that he believed that all Africans are mediocre. Don't think with both sides. He's not good at critical analysis. He's woeful. I've listened to him over the years. And again, I'm not saying the fellow is not bright. He's a bright guy. You can be bright without good at critical analysis. So I'm not taking away his brightness. He's been to university. He got a master's degree and so on. He has been a political practitioner for years. You can't be doing all of that and you ain't bright. You're bright. But he's not good at critical thinking. And it leads him into the stuff that he gets into. He went on to say that the man said, Indian people are lazy. That young lady was on this program and she said the PPP feeds lies to Indian people. They keep Indian people uninformed. That's what she said. She never said Indian people are genetically and as a group they're lazy. That's not what the young lady said. She said PPP supporters, some of whom are Indians, some of whom are Amerindians, some of whom are Africans. But he concludes from that, and they all conclude, that a man just said Indian people are mentally lazy. And the young lady didn't say that. And they got what they intended. Amans after then became very shy of discussing race. And I can understand it. And that's what they want. Thief man like see Matty with Bob. The minute you start discussing race, the PPP gets uncomfortable. Because they know that their policies are grounded in racial discrimination. So they don't want you to talk about race. And they're angry at me and Ogunse and Vincent Alexander and Rickford Burke and to some extent Mark Benshop. They're angry at us because we are not going away. Thief man, I like hear you say thief, oh God, look at thief. They don't like hear that. And I'm not saying that thief men. I'm using colloquial language, proverbs. It's one thing to get them crazy. Because I don't talk one language, I just talk 2 languages. I just talk English and Creolese. And when I use Creolese, they just say, oh, me using dirty language. And I will deal with that one day. Unlike them, who just talk Creolese, but don't believe that Creolese is an important form of communication. I do believe that. I think Creolese is a much more descriptive language than English language. Neville Bichemba going to tell me that I'm not expert on Creolese. They don't believe me as an expert on nothing. Yes, past black man. I'm going to deal with it in the coming days. I want the message go out to him. All of these chaps just believe they can talk to black people anyhow. You know, they really believe that because they've done it and get away with it. And I'm sounding a warning to them. You know, I'm sometimes very slow to get to a certain thing, a certain point. He's offended. He's offended because I said that I am an expert on race. I study it. He's offended because I told the young people, they're calling me political commentator. And I said to the young people in the interview, and I'm also a scholar or an academic, whatever term I use. He's offended by that. I'm going to deal with it. You all will not take your eyes on past me and people like me in this country for much longer. Anyhow, so you see the deception of Mr. Jack Dew. Deception. 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 Deception on cash grants. Lying on it. Lying in order to prove that we Africans are, and I'm telling the middle class Africans, I'm telling you all elites, I'm telling you all believe it's only me that is called racist, and you are running. But any African who opens his mouth or her mouth in this country will be painted with that brush. So now, it's not David Hines alone spoke racism. And where's David Hines racism? Telling black people or telling the APNU, look after your supporters first. When it comes to an election, secure your votes. Secure your votes. That's a racism. Campbell tell he's a liar. He said Campbell tell all Indian people they're liars. What worries me about that is not that these chaps say these things. What worries me about it is that they are unsuspecting young people who would hear that. Jack Dio is an important source of socialization. People in any society, when a leader says something, they normally take it to be true. So Jack Dio is an important agent of socialization. And what worries me is that when he's finished with the lying and the deception and the misinformation, young, unsuspecting younger people will pick it up. And that's the point Amanza was making, that the political party is an important agent of socialization. There are other agents of socialization, the political party, the political leader, the education system, religion, family. They're all agents of socialization. We develop our worldview from those multiple sources. So when Amanza was making her point, she was pointing to the fact that the PPP is an important agent of socialization among Indian Guyanese. And so when the PPP spout certain things, what they're doing is that they're disabling our people from really getting to the real fruit about things. They're standing in the way because they are important agent. The party is an important agent of socialization. That is the point Amanza was making. But again, devoid of critical thinking, he's not going to be able to dissect what the young lady was saying in the way that I'm doing it. So Amanza is a racist, and story done. PPP supporters pick it up. They pass it down from Matty to Matty. It becomes a political truth. So, sisters and brothers, we are seeing very early that the PPP is not changing. He sits there, he cuss out Stabrook News, because Stabrook News point out that all the PPP got is 9,100 more votes. He ignores that. He said they have a 7-seat majority because they got 36 seats. The entire opposition get 39. He's not saying they have 7 seats more than the opposition. They have a 7-seat majority. And that is so lying. And Jack Dion knows better. They have a 3-seat majority. Because to get a majority, you need 33 seats. Sorry, it's a 4-seat majority. But he's saying a 7-seat. So he's saying we got 7 seats more than the others. That's a 7-seat majority. That's a lie, and he knows it's a lie. He knows more mathematics than me. But the lie, the lying, the dishonesty, and taking advantage of people. Unfamiliarity with certain things. Cussing Stabrook News, because Stabrook News says that the opposition get 195,000 votes, you get 247,000 votes. Which represents 9,000 more than you get the last time. You lose vote in your stronghold. 9,000 votes extra is what you get. And running away from that. And the dangerous thing is saying the people have given the PPP a mandate. The PPP has no mandate from the people. Your 36 seats came primarily from one ethnic community. Are you saying that that ethnic community represents the people? When you take the number of people who didn't vote, we're not talking relative to the voters list. We are talking from the last time. The APNU at 219,000. The PPP at 227,000 or 37,000. Yes, 37,000. So together, they had 456,000. And then you had some smaller parties. So let's take it up to 470,000. This time, 195,000 the opposition, 247,000 by the PPP. That's 442,000. Considerably less than who voted the last time. And you are claiming that you have some mandate. What mandate? But when you say you have a mandate, then you are saying that you have a blank check to do what you want to do. That's the dangerous of this thing about mandate. That's the dangerous thing about saying that you have a mandate. You don't have a mandate. You don't have a mandate. Less people, more people say they don't want you. Where you mandate? So they're fooling people with words. I'm trying to remember the poet who talks about fooling gods with words. I think it might have been Martin Carter. That's the lie. Got on my case because I said the PPP is not calling parliament, and that the executive branch should not be controlling the legislative branch. He doesn't deal with that. How David Hines talking about his PPP domination. What are you talking about? PPP domination? The Constitution said that we got 4 months. The Constitution said you got 4 months. That doesn't mean the Constitution say that you must wait till the 4 month done or when the 4 month up. The Constitution gives you a time span. And you have to, in the democratic spirit, call the National Assembly. Why are you allowing this country to go without? It's a functioning legislative branch. You must answer that. And he hasn't answered that. What? Tell us what could prevent the PPP. What is it that is going to happen if the PPP called Parliament tomorrow or call it last week or week before the last? Tell us what would happen. It must be that there is some political reason. As we know, the PPP operates. Something in their favor that is preventing them from calling Parliament. The Parliament man said, I'm waiting for a date, a time, and a place. That is why WPA is arguing, take that power away from the president. Say that once elections are declared, Parliament must be called 1 week thereafter. 1 week thereafter, or 2 weeks thereafter, or 10 days thereafter. That is what you call enumerated and explicit law. So it's not left to the discretion of the president. The law should be clear that once elections are declared and gazetted, Parliament must be convened within 10 days or 1 week or whatever. And that must not be determined by the president. It's determined by the Constitution. And that the Parliament should be controlled by the constitutional officers of that National Assembly. And there's a difference between National Assembly and Parliament. National Assembly is made up of the elected members at the election. Parliament is the elected members plus the president. So we use the two interchangeably. The National Assembly should determine its own schedule, not the president. And this nonsense about the government determine when Parliament is called because they have some bill to bring, so they call Parliament. No. It must be constitutionally there that Parliament shall meet on the 2nd and 4th Thursday of each month, for example. Or the first Wednesday, the first and third Wednesday. So that you know, parliamentarians know. And they don't wait until the government gets a bill. And then the government side, when you submit a motion from the opposition or you submit a bill, it is dependent on them to put it on the order paper. No, it must be the clerk of parliament and whoever else is in charge of the parliament who must decide when a bill is going to be put on the order paper, and that the opposition members and government members must have an equal opportunity to put bills on the order paper. There should be no special thing for the government. That is what the WPA is arguing. That is what WPA is arguing. That we must meet on Gate Teixeira, Minister of Governance, to call Parliament. Parliament should have statutory days. Anytime you have one branch of government controlling another branch, that is autocracy. You're telling one party, you're in charge of the executive government and you're in charge of the legislative branch. Why should we have a minister sitting in Parliament when Parliament is supposed to be the oversight of cabinet? So you have a cabinet member sitting, he or she is oversighting himself or herself? What nonsense is that? The British left us with that. But we have to move away from that and to democratize our society. There is too much power in the hands of the president and the executive. It's executive supremacy bordering on executive tyranny. They're co-equal branches of government. And each branch must have its own sphere of influence. And there must be checks and balances by another branch. You are not naming the Chief Justice. You are not naming the Chancellor. You're holding the judiciary at ransom. You're holding the judiciary at ransom. And the judiciary is a co-equal branch of government. I'm surprised that nobody has gone to the very judiciary to test whether the long years without a chancellor and a chief justice substantively, whether it's not a violation of the spirit of the Constitution. The opposition leaders already said, I agree to the two people who are sitting there to be regularized. The PPP say no. I am surprised that the lawyers have not gone. Maybe the lawyers are saying, well, you know, the judiciary, maybe, you know, their model of jurisprudence may not lead them to treat a matter like that with the seriousness. Are you violating the Constitution by having a country for over 15 years, over 10 years, without a substantive Chief Justice and a substantive chance of the judiciary? The man who was just heading the CCJ said that it's not right. Then send the thing up to the what you call it, the CCJ. The man already says it's not right. Send it up to him formally as a form of judicial review. And Neville Bishemba, I read the Guyana Constitution. And Neville Bishemba, I did courses in international law because one of my majors in my PhD was international relations. You know what I study and what I don't study because you ain't pass me. And you ain't pass me, I'm going to deal with you. But not tonight. It's chalk dust. They want me to sing. But our minister was caught with a call girl in tongue. But I ain't singing about that. Afraid is sedition. I'm going to deal with you, Neville Bishemba. You know that me is not an expert on international law. because in your mind, people like me should know nothing about nothing. I'm going to deal with you. I start dealing with you already. This will be the last time you will open your mouth and try to talk in a certain way about me. As Mr. Bishop used to say in this village, I teach little boy to walk and talk, but not to talk to me anyhow. Oh, Mr. Bishop, he left me that wisdom. I teach little boys to walk and talk, but not to talk to me anyhow. Oh, you know what means an export one and what means not an export on. You've been there with me, I'm going to read them book. And if you've not been there, then you're making assumptions of people like me. How dare you? I'm going to deal with you. I you know you, tell you. We come in peace, as always. And we live in peace. Because we are God's children. We are righteous people. Those of you who are interested in our course on Pan-Africanism, some of you have been getting in touch with me. The number to call is at the bottom of the screen. Please call it. That number is at the bottom of the screen. It's 624-7125. Guyana. WhatsApp is a good mode to call. Those of you in Guyana could call direct. And my office, which is dealing with this, we will take care of you there. Have you enrolled? So many of you have gotten in touch with me. And so please call that number, 624-7125 to enroll for our course. We are looking the 4 and 7, 11 and 7, 18th. That is next 2 Saturdays. We concluded Saturday is probably the most neutral day to get our course started. So please call that number at the bottom of the screen and enroll in our course. 624-7125. Our first course will be called Introduction to Pan-Africanism. Never December, you can come and join and learn something, son. Jack Dio, well, you're busy, Mr. Jack Dio. You're going to get time, but December get time. You get time for try to take and pass me. I'm going to deal with you. Please enroll. 624-7125. A lot of young people are the ones, as you know, a pastor and some young people are the ones who have made this possible. And we're going to be doing it. So we got education, we got learning, and we got mobilization. I'm quoting the original folklorist, Wordsworth McCandry. We got education, we got learning. And Auntie Comsey, them is the folklorist. Hey, hey, hey! I remember Auntie Comsey. Hey, hey, hey! Jamaica had Louis Bennett and so on. Our language, folklore. We got education, we got learning. Good night. And I'm going to see you all tomorrow night. I think I want a big cast tomorrow night, so I'm going to bring in them by them Dr. Adams and them by bring them in tomorrow night. Pandem, you know, my friend Crazy Ojinga said, big cast, 20 people on stage. I'm going to see you all tomorrow night. I love it. And of course, I love you all, because without you, this program would not be possible. See you all tomorrow night. Again. Come there we go away. We go away. Night a come oh. We go away. Come there we go away. Night a come, oh, and we go away, and we go away. Then I want me sing them, but we'll sing upon them. Never December, I singing upon you. You gonna know. You gonna know.